Hey guys, welcome to another Double Tap on YouTube. I am Stephen Scott, and today we are going to learn all about the big event from Microsoft this week, that is Ability Summit. Hector Minto is here from Microsoft. Hector, what's your title these days?
Yeah, good morning, Stephen. So I'm the Lead Accessibility Evangelist for Microsoft. I run a program around the world that essentially works with our customer-facing teams to go and drive active strategies and conversations on accessibility.
Brilliant. Well, listen, again, we're excited about the Ability Summit. Now, what year are we in? Because this is just, feels like it's been there around for a long time, but
14.
it's surprisingly, was it?
14 years.
14 years?
This is the 14th one, yeah. And it's grown. I mean, it started with 80 people in a room, believe it or not, Stephen. And last year, well over 20,000 registrants. The thing that I find most interesting is that over half of what we would kind of call our most strategic customers globally are in attendance. Someone from those most important customers around the world is in attendance at Ability Summit. So yes, it's grown and grown.
So for people who don't know, right, let's just go right back to the beginning here. Who is Ability Summit for, and what does it do?
To me, it talks to Microsoft's convening power on the topic of disability and accessibility. It's not for any one group. It's for accessibility professionals, the disability community, for the companies that are employing people around the world, for governments, for policymakers. Every single one of those topics will be covered. But fundamentally, it's about a transparent meeting place so that we're all talking about all of the issues that impact people with disabilities around the world.
And I asked that question deliberately about the for part, because that's kind of the sneaky side question that a journalist would do. Yeah, because here's the thing, it kind of proves the point that accessibility is for everyone, right? We need to get away from this idea that accessibility is some box in the corner that only disabled people have a special key to get access to. Yeah. Accessibility is accessibility for everyone.
Look, I mean, it's really kind of what my job's all about is, we can speak all we want in the people who already know about the topic and understand the struggles of accessibility. But unless we're bringing new people into the room to have this conversation, we're not going to make progress. And so, I'm super proud of the fact that our customers of all disciplines, and I'll just say kind of, from HR professionals to IT professionals, chief technology officers to brand and marketing people, they're all joining us at Ability Summit now. Whereas I think it's fair to say before it was the assistive technology enthusiasts, the innovators, the disabled people's organizations around the world. That was kind of the main group that started this. But over time, what we've been trying to demonstrate, and I think what's clearly true, is that every part of a business, every part of an organization, every part of a society needs to put a lens on, are we being as inclusive as we really need to be now in a digital space?
Yeah, and you kind of touched on this, but I do wonder how you got from that 80 to 20,000 people in a room, from 80 to 20,000, because I think that's a really interesting number to look at in terms of growth over 14 years. How do you achieve that? How do you actually get essentially people beyond the accessibility teams, beyond the charities, beyond the non-profits involved and engaged?
By giving them content that's relevant to what they're trying to do. I mean, there's no single professional in the world who can do accessibility. I spent, before Microsoft, I spent 20 years in the pure assistive technology, the device space. And then when I came into the corporate world, it was very much more about the built infrastructure of IT. Yeah, it was much more about kind of, the accessible build experiences, the testing space. And then you've got to start thinking about literally the D&I world of people representation and this recognition that disability talent inside an organization leads to progress overall on the conversation. There's no one group that can fix what we're trying to do, which is essentially create equitable experiences. We need everybody at the table. The content, we're very clear about how we try to build the content. So we have three streams: build, include, and innovate. I think it is. I'll have to just double check that. But essentially, hopefully, in each of those pillars, as we would say, there should be you should be able to see kind of what you want to do. But then what you might want to do is kind of sneak out of your comfort zone and go and see what the techies are talking about, or go and see what the training people are talking about. All of it will be on demand afterwards anyway. So even if you're kind of, following one strand for most of it, you can go into somebody else's world a little bit and see what they're talking about. The more exposure we give people to what's happening cross-discipline, the more people see what they're doing. Let me give you an example. A CIO, an IT lead in a business, will be clearly thinking about deploying the tools that support that workforce. But when he goes into a D&I conversation around what it means to be represented and what it means not to have to ask for accommodations and all these sorts of things, it brings real meaning to the work that they're doing in terms of the technology they deploy. So it's super important that people reach out of their bubble and kind of understand they're part of the kind of the journey of accessibility for organizations of all types. To me, that's where we've really succeeded. I have to say, there's a little bit about kind of the glitter as well of kind of like, we've got Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child speaking. We've had senior politicians, we've had CEOs of businesses speaking at Ability Summit, all about what they're doing. So it's this also linking of disabled people's organizations and the community, but then also to kind of some of the leading voices of what's going on in the world out there. We have the luxury at Microsoft of being able to kind of attract people to come and talk about this topic, which is great. I will say one thing on that, Stephen, as well. People always say yes to the invite to speak at Ability Summit. It's really, I'd say, encouraging. That's good. It's encouraging.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, look, I'm all for a bit of Survivor, so I'm all for Michelle Williams coming along. That sounds fantastic.
Even like Bootylicious is really.
Thank you. Yeah,
I would have used for you. Yeah.
There's as many words you could use for me. I'm not sure that's the one, but maybe it is. Okay, let's talk about AI, because look, AI is everywhere, and I imagine it is going to be where hardware is something we think we're going to talk about at events like this, or even throughout the years. With Apple and Microsoft and Google, we always get excited about the latest hardware, but I think AI has kind of got people excited in software again, and I guess that is going to be a big part of the theme at Ability Summit.
Certainly is. I've been working myself on some disability-specific narrative around co-pilots, and so the concept of a co-pilot, if people haven't tried it, copilot.microsoft.com, download the app on your phone. This concept of generative AI in your pocket, on your desktop, embedded in the Microsoft experiences. We're going to be talking a lot about the early access program and how people with disabilities inside businesses around the world who got first exposure to it started bringing their scenarios forward. The co-pilots and AI, generative AI, is not in itself assistive technology, but of course it is. It's not disability-specific assistive technology. But what's interesting is people are telling us how they're going to use it. It's not, we've not got a training manual on disability and AI. People are finding these new tools that are built into the modern productivity suites and saying, wow. So let me give you one of the examples, a little sneak preview of one of the videos. One of my colleagues who's autistic talks in this 60-second snippet about the social challenge of meetings and being able to use the co-pilot to ask questions about how they might interact in the meeting. Like nobody thought of that when we started putting co-pilot out there, but people with autism are now coming back to us and saying, wow, you think this is just a nice to have in the workplace, isn't that a great tool for everybody? This is the difference between me being seen in a meeting or not being seen in a meeting. So that's also part of the Ability Summit is, framing technology according to the disability experience is what that is. There will be more AI than Copilot, though. So one of the things I'm really super proud of is how we're bringing other innovators from different industries in to talk about how they're looking at AI and applying accessibility to their industry. So, for instance, we're going to have GN Resound talking about the future of hearing aids and how they're embedding the latest Bluetooth standards into what they're doing and how that's going to play with Windows. That's going to be interesting. We're also going to have a brand company or a digital technology brand company talking about how they're using generative AI already to explore automating the audio description experience.
I know that's a very interesting one. This is what I love about Ability Summit, because it's creating. Well, first off, for my job, it makes my life a lot easier because you come up with all the topics we can think about and talk about over the next few months. But especially when it comes to automating audio description, I think democratizing that experience would be quite good for a lot of us. And I think also, and I think this is important to say, often we talk about making things easier or making things more accessible. We talk about, making sure we put alt text on our images. Maybe we use AI to help us with that. Maybe we, make audio description available. But one of the challenges for me as a content creator, as a blind content creator, is trying to do all this stuff accessibly. I want to make my content as accessible as possible. But is that platform that I need to use accessible to me? It might be accessible to someone who's sighted trying to help a disabled person. but does it work, from blind to blind person? And I think this is where this kind of technology gets exciting.
So there will be some. I don't know how you knew this, Stephen. I didn't tell you about this, but there will be talk about precisely that within the kind of the development arena, the development tools. So obviously, Copilot's going to be part of the development experience. There's been loads of work being done on Visual Studio and developers with disabilities talking about how they develop. We will have a very interesting developer with disabilities talking about short-term memory loss and how they're using Copilots in their work as well. That's going to be interesting. But what you've just mentioned is really the next level of maturity that we need to aim for. You're absolutely right. We have lived in a world where people have built tools to support people with disabilities as the consumer of the experience, not the creator of the experience. And it's next level, it's next level kind of assistive technology when we really start looking at, are we actually building the experiences? And what we know is that people with disabilities will build accessible end experiences if they are given the creation tools to do so, 100%. But that really is like the next frontier for us all, isn't it? One example that just jumps out at me, and it's an interesting journey we've been on with it, but in PowerPoint, you've got designer. Okay, so if somebody's blind and they're creating content for a workplace experience and they're going to present a PowerPoint in a meeting, well, they would have built an accessible, rudimentary, functional experience. They wouldn't have built a beautiful experience, or they wouldn't have been able to use imagery that conveyed their meaning. But now when you look at the kind of, the image creator tools, I can say, I want a handsome man in a maroon shirt wearing glasses and headphones in a double tap studio. And and what will happen is the AI will generate me something that I've got a pretty good idea speaks to that. Yeah. And so the PowerPoint designing tools are starting to become something that people are having more confidence in, that it's going to create something that kind of represents what you're trying to build. And then, of course, you can use the accessibility checkers to make sure you're getting an accessible experience as well. If we can move from a world where people with disabilities are moving from designing functional experiences to beautiful experiences, wow, we all get excited about that, right, Stephen?
Absolutely. Look, I always look forward to Ability Summit. I have registered once again. I look forward to attending. March 7th is the date. And of course, like you say, if you don't get a chance to catch it live, you can always watch it on demand as well. Hector, always good to talk to you. Come back again and let's talk more about all of these fascinating topics. It's so good to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Stephen.
And don't forget, you can like and subscribe to this channel. And if you do, I promise you more episodes will appear. That's how it works. Follow us here on YouTube. And of course, don't forget our daily show as well on AMI Audio and on podcast. Thanks for watching.